Charles Town Council regular meeting for February 8th will come to order. Let's stand for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, I skipped right over it. Let's have a roll call, please.
Natalie here.
Gavin here. Daniel present. Brian present. We have a quorum. We'll go right to recognition of visitors and presentations. We are going to start with Carrie Allison from the Eastern Shore of Virginia Tourism Commission.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of Town Council. Mr. Is this better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mr. Manuel, thank you so much for your time and putting me on the agenda. You all are a funder in the Tourism Commission, and I always like to let funders know exactly what their money is doing and why. And I'm going to quickly go through some slides. And is this okay?
Carrie, the microphone sags a little bit,
Okay.
so can't do anything about that. I think you just need to speak up a bit if you can.
Okay.
Fine.
I'm going to run through these slides really fast. I'm in marketing, and marketing used to be an art, but now it's very much a science because most of it's online, and you can see exactly what people are doing. And so all the guesswork's kind of taken out of it. So there's a lot of data here, but it's really the only way to tell the story. So we measure, we have a budget of about $230,000 a year from 4 major funding sources. Cape Charles is one of them. And what we do is measure what we do with the money. We have success measures we put in place before we ever take any sort of action. And I'm going to share the results with you. I'm going to share 2 sets of data. One set of data is from the Virginia Tourism Corporation. That is the state tourism organization in Richmond. And they're collecting data, and it's a methodology set up by the U.S. Travel Association decades ago, and they've refined it over the years. And this is, they report the whole state, and these numbers are just for our region. Our region is only our 2 counties. So this county, these 2 counties for the 2nd year in a row are the fastest growing in the whole state. Visitor spending here totaled $254 million last year, not last year, I'm sorry, 2014, and that's well over $500,000 a day. And visitors, when they come here, they're spending $6.6 million in taxes throughout the region. And do let me have you know that this is a huge data collection the state does, and so the numbers we're looking at from them are 2014. They just can't, it takes them 9 months to, crunch the data. Tourism job growth from 2009 was about 9%. Tourism payroll rose 21%. And do note the data tells you there that we added more payroll than jobs, so maybe those are better paying jobs. I'm just throwing that out. Growth in visitor spending, and that's a very broad category that includes food, lodging, transport, purchases, entertainment, payroll, and a few other things. It rose to 22% from 2009 to 2014. And this is our purest data point for what's going on with visitor economy here. In the 2 counties, we had a 43% increase from 2009 to the end of 2014 in our lodging tax. And do note the caveat there in red, Chincoteague raised their lodging tax 1 percentage point in 2000. I can't read my own. Thank you. So that doesn't count for some of that increase, but it doesn't count for most of it. Most regions would be absolutely jumping cartwheels if they had 5% increase in their lodging tax. And so that's a pretty impressive trend line. The other set of data that we look at is what we can collect locally on our website. We can measure all kinds of little things. And I call those the signals of intent to travel. The first data set we're going to look at is travel guide requests. We have ways of knowing exactly how many travel guides go out, are requested and sent by our organization every year. There's been 1,000% increase in that since 2011. And you see a very big spike in 15. We have a phenomenal growth in website visits from 2011. That's the oldest, that's the year that I have data from, forward to 2015. And that's almost 700%. Another signal of intent to travel, if you're going to go somewhere, the first thing you do is you say, I'm going to go, I'm going to find a place to stay. That's usually your first starting point. And look at stay, where I have the yellow arrow. Stay has been in our top 5 pages all of 2015, and it was in 2014 as well. We also look at how many people coming to the website are totally new. Some are returning, but some are new. And consistently over 2015, most of our visitors to the website are new. So we're reaching, that tells us that we're reaching new markets and new people with our marketing efforts. We also look at Facebook likes, because a lot of times that converts. We put very, very strong action words on our Facebook saying, plan your trip now and order a guide here. We've had almost a 2,000% increase in Facebook likes since 2013. And I'm going to briefly tell you what a destination marketing organization does, because I can never tell it enough. A lot of people still think we're part of the state. And we're not. We're completely separate. The state has this big state effort, and they work at a much different level than all the localities. You know, Richmond has its own little DMO. Virginia Beach has its own DMO. And you see the name of destination marketing organizations, and that's going to turn into something altogether new probably in the next few years, because we also have to start developing the tourism economy. But right now, we're kind of still focused on marketing. And what we do, we get funded by 4 entities here, both counties, Onancock, the town, and Cape Charles, the town, and you give us almost 7% of our budget. We're very grateful for it. Thank you very much.
Back up to that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're seeing that correctly, and that's a major political challenge here, and it has come up at step, and we'll be working on that. The programs, what we do with that, $230,000, we run the Welcome Center at the CBBT, which is designed to take people that are driving by around 13 and push them off 13 and send them to Cape Charles to eat dinner, and send them in, watch a parade to stop at the Island House, and they inspire people just to start exploring the Eastern Shore from all the way to Chincoteague. We support our industry as best we can. We don't have much staff. There's me and a half-time person, aside from Welcome Center staff. But we hold a tourism summit in April. We do a fall workshop. We give our all our tourism partners, there's about 300 of them across the whole region, a chance to surface their business in the Welcome Center with advertising, rack cards and spotlight things. You know, it goes from the very least inexpensive to you can spend a bunch of money. We do a lot of marketing. Most of all, we do digital. We're very focused on digital, but we still do a print guide every year, and we work with the media when they come to town. Sometimes we take major tours up and down the shore. Sometimes just somebody coming in who's very independent, and we just say, hey, you might want to go there. For instance, the Washingtonian called me yesterday, and he's not going to want comped. He's not going to want anything comped. He's not going to want me to drive around. He said, what's new? You know, what do I need to know about? So I just point them in the right direction. And then we collaborate. Spend a lot of my time driving all around the Chesapeake now for the Oyster Trail, the Artisan Trail, Coastal Virginia Tourism Alliance, which is kind of the Hampton Roads area plus us. And then we're working on Stronger Economies Together. We're working on partnership grants. We probably, supported 6 grants last year. And our new thing, which is we're supporting market development. So this is earned media in 2015. It's not exhaustive. It's just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that we're getting placed. And a lot of times these people are calling me. And I do want to point out that conventional media, we call it mainstream media or MSM. And those are the brands on there that you're familiar with, like CNN and National Geographic. But we're very interested in people like Trekkaroo. They have 7 million people that go to their website every year. And they came here and wrote a big story and named us a top trip to take with your family in 2016. And the culture trip is huge. But the media landscape is more fragmented, and we try to expend our resources on the biggest influencers, which may not be what you think. The New York Times is great, Washington Post is great, the big, Dallas Morning News is great, but as you reach into the younger demographic, you're not reading those publications. And it's otherwise. So we really try to keep up with this. AltDaily.com is in Hampton Roads, and we're working with them closely on editorial and advertising. Our paid media is what we spend. We don't have a lot of spend to put it in paid, but we typically put most of it into Facebook, and we geo-target. We go all the way from North Carolina all the way up to New York, and as far west as Ohio. I'm getting a lot of traction in North Carolina, but our #1 market is within Virginia. But the governor said recently, don't spend your money in Virginia, you're just moving the money around within Virginia. Get those North Carolinians, Linneans to come in and spend their money. And then we market by affinity. These days, there's so much data online. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. And I sort of hate him in a way, for me personally, but I love him as a marketer. You can go in there and you can target your 6 great beaches on Virginia's Eastern Shore, like that little ad has, and you can target into coastal living, readers of coastal living. You can target to mid-Atlantic beachgoers. You can target to I love Royal Beaches. And before you end, you've got like 6 million people in your group, and you say, oh, I'll spend $20, and then you just let it go viral. And that one did really well. We got over 200 shares, which is the kind of traction we like to get. And the new consumer, I think you guys are real savvy here in Cape Charles, and you know what everybody wants. They want listicles, they're looking at social media, they want trails, they want maps, they look at TripAdvisor, Yelp to make decisions, they want authenticity. The people that come here, they don't want the Outer Banks. Or maybe they want the Outer Banks in June, they want to come somewhere different in September. They don't want the Disney experience. So we're trying to align, we're very well aligned to that. They want handmade local, they want to be immersed. They don't want to just go look at an oyster. They want to go put on waders, wade out in the water, break an oyster off the rock. They want to come back and they want a chef to show them 3 ways to cook it, and then they want to eat it. And then they want to buy it as and take it home. We want to align to the value system of the new consumer. We're perfectly situated to do it. They love sustainable environmental practices. They want a rich local culture. They don't want to come into something that's like everywhere else they've ever been. And they want it unorchestrated. It's really interesting. Dave Burton, I'll call him and say, could you do this? And he goes, sure. Like somebody has a special request. But people do that all over here. They are very good at customizing everything. And you can only do that to an extent, but it's really, consumers love it. Our tourism partners are the most important piece of everything that we do, and that's everybody who has a tourism-related business. Those are restaurants, lodging, all the museums, all the shops, and all the outfitters, and everything else you can imagine. So what our tourism partners, the role they play is they put everything just in that first category up there. It's all free. They need to be online. Today's consumer is online. And that's just all there is to it. Increasingly, they're on their mobile. So you've got to be on TripAdvisor, you've got to be on Yelp, you've got to be on Facebook, you've got to use the local tourism website, which is ours. It's free to do business on there. And it's free to put your event on there. And then you want to be on Google Maps, because that's how they're going to find you. You want to be very responsive. We all know this. If you manage a business, you've got to have accurate info, you've got to answer your phones and emails, you've got to manage your user-generated feedback. In other words, some lady went on TripAdvisor and badmouthed the Island House, and within 4 hours, Island House had a response. Thank you very much for your feedback. We try to be perfect. We're not always perfect. Please come back and try us again. And then people want new products. Like the media calls me all the time, what's new on Eastern Shore? Well, consumers want that too. They'll come back again if you have something that's new, and you have to know the consumer and you have to evolve your business to meet consumer wants. You know, I'm not gluten-free, but a lot of people are. If you run a restaurant this day and age, you probably you ought to take that into consideration. The challenges we're facing right now are significant because we're going to have to pivot from being marketing only we have to start developing our tourism market. And we are the shopping center, but Cape Charles is a Calvin Klein store. And so is Watch Craig, and so is Exmoor, and so is Chincoteague, and so is Onioncock, and everybody else in between. So we've got to have strong sub-markets in order to make it a strong shopping center. And so we're really working on that. We're working very closely with the new development person for the Eastern Shore, Stacy Martin. Some of you may have met her, and she's gaining a lot of knowledge. People want to bring money and investment here, and we need to prove that we understand business investment. We want to be welcoming. We need a mobile site, and I'm kind of dragging that because I kind of did website development for a long time, and we're going to do a good job with it because we need it to last for a while. That's a project that we'll probably be behind on, but I'm meeting with Sonia tomorrow, and that's going to be a big project. It's going to involve a lot of activity for probably a year, if not longer. We need more research. We're running out of line of sight into knowing we can't grow the market anymore. We can only market it to a certain extent we have to know more about who we're talking to. And research is very expensive, so we rely on the state and then my little local data because I know I can read some of it. I know how many travel guide requests are and how many website visits, but we need a scientific, very, very strategic study here. And then the first thing we want to do is what's called a product audit. We want to find out where the gaps are in the market. Do we need more restaurants in Cape Charles? Do we need more restaurants in Exmoor? Do we need more high-end luxury housing? And on like that. And then we can kind of point the business development in the right way. We need more resources. We're hoping to grow our budget. We only have me and a half-time person, and then Alan Burns on Welcome Center. We just really need a bigger budget and bigger staff to start heading into this tourism development piece. And then everybody has to start thinking regionally. Now, consumer doesn't come to a town, or if they do, they're going, what else is there to do out here? And you keep people longer if you have a nice region that you can point them to. Say they hub in Cape Charles, and you say, but you could go to Onioncock. Don't just stay for three-day weekend. Stay for a week and hub out of Cape Charles and do this and that and do this and that and do this and that. And then you'll keep them even longer if you say, plus you could drive across Bay Bridge and have a city for a day. And regionalism is becoming something that investors are looking at, and especially the State Tourism Commission is saying if you don't regionalize and start working together with ACMAC very carefully and closely, we're going to kind of hold back the investment here because it's not going to pay off. I'm going to do that really quickly. A lot is changing here very fast, and I can really keep up with it. So I just want to spew it all out really fast. And then, please, if you have any questions or comments, I'm certainly glad to try to answer them.
Thank you very much. It's a great presentation, and it's extremely encouraging to all of us here. Tourism is a big part of the economy for Cape Charles. Do any of the council members have any questions?
Well, you're seeing a role, and we should work together. You know, both counties, the towns, and all that. Chincoteague will not come into this, will it? It's on its own.
Chincoteague has to come into it.
We've been saying that for 10 years.
This is not going to happen overnight. But there's certain things in play that I think are going to encourage a certain direction in the way that we grow. And you know, as I keep being told, I'll be dead by the time we get where I envision it to go. But you know, let's set a strong foundation. There's a lot of redundancy. There's a service that's in both counties. There's a lot of money. They call it leakage in this strategic planning thing we're doing. They call it leakage. Why do you have 3 chambers and 2 tourism organizations? I mean, we're poor, you know? And that is happening in other parts of Virginia. The government all over it. They're getting counties that didn't historically work together, the Northern Map. Somehow, I just heard the story of how they're now working together. And they're pulling their resources, and they're pulling a lot of money in the market and a lot of investment. So I don't have the answers. I'm kind of new at the development piece. I can do marketing in my sleep. The development piece is a little more complicated for me. But we have a lot of help, and we're going to get there. And I think you guys are just, you know, really on your game down here. And the Main Street initiative is going to be, that's exactly the kind of thing they're looking for. You know.
And my second question would be, summertime we're booming. Wintertime, I mean, I'm trying to get green stamps out of my bed and breakfasts. That doesn't even help. How can we promote this during the winter? Cape Charles.
Yeah.
Magnificent sunsets. Yes, just about it.
I know. Well, that's a big concern. And one of the reasons that they came up with this idea of the Virginia Oyster Trail, which is centered on the Chesapeake Bay, the east and western shores. And it's hopeful for us because wintertime is the oyster season, and that really is just getting started. So that's one strategy to build the year-round market here. So the Artisan Trail probably is going to be a component of that. I think over time, what you get with an emerging market like this, or kind of the resort market, is you get people who kind of close up shop on October 31st or November 1. And as there's more money coming into the market, more consumer spending here from tourism, and organically it'll happen that more people say, wow, I'm going to open a store, I'm going to keep it open all year round. We have to bring the consumers here, we have to develop the product for wintertime. And I've been talking with Stacy Martin at the state level. I'm watching carefully Virginia Beach is on it with their wintertime stuff. I'm working with their executive director, and I'm watching what OBX is doing. There's all kinds of ways to overcome that's going to happen overnight, but it's a great point. And everybody is hurting. I thought at some point, well, could we all just maybe agree to shut down in January, but stay open the rest of the year? So I think we've got a challenge, and I think it's going to take some time to sort it out. It's going to take some cooperation from our business owners.
It's kind of a catch-22. Business owners don't want to open because there's nobody to sell to, and they need that there's a certain cost and effort involved in that, and then people don't want to come because the businesses aren't open. So somehow you have to bootstrap yourself out of that. It's not easy to do. The Business Association came up with a pretty decent plan that I think helped us a great deal prior to Christmas. But we can talk about that later. We don't need to take these people's time off of that.
I will say that's the natural place to start is the holiday season. And I saw a lot more activity going on all across the whole region, and a lot more economic revenue dumped into the market. Chincoteague had one of the biggest holiday seasons they've ever had. Onancock had a good one. I noticed you guys were doing your some holidays. So that's product development. That's giving people a reason to come here. And that's the logical place to start it. Then start opening spring a little earlier, come up with some heavy March reasons to come here.
Any other questions?
Question and comment. Along with the absence of Chincoteague on your screen of funding, you have 0.7% from Onancock. Where is that derived from?
Their top tax. The transient occupancy tax is what people pay when they come in and they stay at a hotel. And there's I forget exactly
I guess my
how it
question is to
works.
the point, do you anticipate being able to get larger amounts of revenue from Onancock as well as Chincoteague?
Chincoteague's money is going into Accomack County's general fund, if I understand it correctly. And then we're being funded out of that general fund. It's not tied to top tax. Typically what you do in any market is everybody gives you a percentage of the top tax at every level, county level, the town level, and everybody agrees that they'll put X percent of their tot. And as it grows, the Tourism Commission budget grows as well. That's the normal course of action. And Onancock is got some other, they're not even enforcing collection. We're finding all these things out as we kind of go through some strategic planning. Those are issues that are really outside my wheelhouse. That's really our board's challenge to resolve those issues. And Chincoteague is paying quite a lot of tax to Accomack, and we're sharing in some of that.
And my other comment question is, on your list of what tourists are looking for, a unique experience, they don't want to go where? having the same old things being offered. How does that tie in? And we've had a lot of debate about highway development, you know, versus trying to keep and steer development back into the towns, which are pretty unique here on the shore. What would be your opinion on how to approach that? Which is more valuable, to steer the development in the town and try to avoid strip zoning and highway development?
Well, you just said it. What you want to do is give a tourist when they arrive, you want to give them a sense they've arrived at a very unique place. And I would be very hard pressed to argue that Route 13 strip malls would give you a sense of you've arrived at a unique place. And the thought, and the state people agree with me on this, that what they would rather see is the waterfront development on both coasts. They'd like to see Wachaprague and Oyster, and then on the bay side, of course, all the waterfront towns there. They would like to see Main Street programs go into all those places as best as could be. And Route 13, you could be anywhere in America. So what's distinctive and unique about that? It doesn't mean that there couldn't be some tourism product along Route 13, but the sense of arrival is going to be on the, when you can see the water. We're bragging, we're two coasts and we're a peninsula. We're a coastal destination, so.
Thank you.
I have a question. Accomack County is about 2 times the size and population of Northampton County, but the funding sources seem to come twice as much from Northampton County as Accomack. Are there any plans to try and balance that out?
Yes. It's of concern to the Tourism Commission Board, but it's becoming something that's of concern to people beyond that. And that means potential investors, that means political entities, the Virginia Tourism Corporation, that's on their radar. It's on the radar of some other potential public monies and things like that. So I don't really know exactly. I'm not sure how that happened. I keep reading different things and keep trying to understand it, but that's really a board level challenge. I'm just a paid staff, thank heavens. But it is on the radar of everybody, from our board all the way up to, I think, both county administrators and all the town managers. I can't tell you what the solution is going to be.
And my follow-up question would be, if I remember correctly, excluding Chincoteague, the only 2 towns that are contributing are the town of Cape Charles and Onancock. Are there any plans to try and engage the other towns in the counties, especially those that can benefit and are benefiting from tourism?
Yes, that's on the radar of our board. And those are, like I said, those are political issues that, thank heavens, are out of my wheelhouse, but you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Just one more. There's a bill being in Richmond tomorrow at the top of Mount Olympus with our delegates and our senators on Airbnb. And Airbnb is trying to strip all controls of the towns. That you can't tax, you can't check on the like this, that you can't check on their standards. Where B&Bs in the hotel industry is really against it. So it'll be interesting if the money usually wins. So I think hotels are going to win. But Airbnb wants to get into all the little towns. And people make money, and they don't pay any taxes.
Yes, I'm aware of that bill. I don't know exactly where they are with it, but you say tomorrow's
We're
gonna.
discussing it. I'm going to go to the thing.
Really?
So,
Okay.
The House
Yeah,
bill,
that's-
the bill was passed on the House side, and equivalent bill was passed on the Senate side. They are in the process of negotiating what the joint bill will be, worded in the joint bill will be going forward. So those individual bills have passed in spite of a great deal of lobbying effort on the part of many different entities. We can talk about that more offline.
Yeah, that Airbnb piece, the whole sharing economy piece is hitting the tourism economy, so I know there's a lot of potential.
I'll ask you just one more question. The other piece of this business of the contribution of various towns and counties, the counties to the Tourism Commission, the other part of that is what's the proportion that gets spent in each of those, promoting each of those areas? Because I think regionalism is a great idea, but there needs to be a certain degree of equity. Cape Charles is contributing more. We need to get more.
Right. I think that whole equity piece is, exactly where we need to move. You'll notice that Accomack County is not sharing TOT with us. We're just a budget line item.
Notice that.
Yeah, just want to make sure you did notice that. That's really not the way, I came from San Antonio, and we did great marketing, brought, more and more people in, and our budget also grew. So I've never seen an arrangement quite like this. Northampton County is sharing revenue. As TOT comes in, our budget grows slightly, it's reflected, so.
Well, we can talk about this more later. I would like to get moving unless there are more other questions from anyone.
Is that leave the presentation, here, a copy of the presentation?
I'd be glad to.
So we can reference those figures.
Sure.
I'd actually rather have it electronically, but
I can
some
sign
people
it.
prefer hard copies. Great.
Let me have
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for your time and for your great questions, and I look forward to working with you closely in the next year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next order of business is a proclamation. This is in memory of Paul W. Skolnick. Whereas Paul Skolnick resided within the town of Cape Charles for over a decade, and during that time made major and everlasting contributions to the town's workforce that benefited the town's citizenry and tourists. And whereas he was a decorated Vietnam veteran who was active in the American Legion Post 56 and supported local veterans and the Post's Cape Charles Food Pantry Christmas canned food drive that led to a record collection of food for the disadvantaged. And whereas he was instrumental in the planning and conducting of numerous patriotic programs in the town of Cape Charles that included 4th of July parades, Memorial Day ceremonies, and Veterans Day services. And whereas he assisted and directed the preparation of meals at Post 56 that were served to veterans and homebound veterans. And whereas he served with distinction as the treasurer for the town of Cape Charles and was well known for his skill and dedication to the town's citizenry. And whereas he returned to work for the town of Cape Charles on 2 occasions on a temporary contract basis to assist with a departmental leadership transition. And whereas he volunteered with the Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company to mentor them financially and was a driving force for the refurbishment of their work areas. Whereas he touched many lives as a fellow citizen, friend, brother, veteran, town treasurer, mentor, and all-around great guy, his life made a great impact on this community, and his service to its citizenry will never be forgotten. Now therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the town of Cape Charles, I, George Proto, do hereby extend this proclamation in memory of Paul Skolnick to celebrate an exceptional life whose simple presence lit up a room and filled it with humor, love, and purpose. I'd like a motion for adoption of this.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Aye. The motion to adopt is carried. This is adopted by the town of Cape Charles on this 18th day of February 2016. I don't believe there's anyone here to accept this, but there will be a memorial for Mr. Skolnick in March, and this will be presented at that time. Beg your pardon? I believe it's March the 6th. A proclamation, another second proclamation. This is in memory of Michael Sullivan. Whereas Mike Sullivan moved to the town of Cape Charles in 1997 and was a citizen of the town for over 18 years, and whereas he served in the U.S. Air Force and was an Arabic linguist, after his discharge from the Air Force, he went to college and was hired by Xerox Corporation, where he worked for 33 years. And whereas he was the first Vice Commander of American Legion Post 56 and continued to be an active member of Post 56 in support of local veterans until his death. He also served as an ambulance driver for Station 19 Cape Charles Rescue. And whereas he and his wife, Theodora Sullivan, owned and operated Sullivan's Office Supply for 13 years, and Mike operated a computer repair service in the same location. And whereas he continued serving the American Legion Post 56, Station 19 Cape Charles Rescue, and the Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company by maintaining their computers at no cost. And whereas he designed and maintained the town's first website, as well as originating the Cape Charles Gazette, the town's electronic newsletter. And whereas he was elected to the Cape Charles Town Council in 2010 and served the town and its citizens for 4 years. And whereas he touched numerous lives as a fellow citizen, dear husband, father, grandfather, friend, veteran, and town council, now therefore by virtue of the authority in me as vested in me as mayor of the town of Cape Charles, I, George Proto, do hereby extend this proclamation in memory of Michael Sullivan, whose life made a great impact on this community, and his service to its citizenry will never be forgotten. May I have a motion to move?
Second.
All in favor? The proclamation is adopted, and I believe there's no one here to accept, but this will be delivered to Ms. Sullivan. Thank you very much. Next item of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We have two signed up. First one is Wayne Creed.
Welcome.
Welcome, Mayor and Council. This is Wayne Creed of 548 Monroe, Cape Charles, Virginia. I hope you can understand me. I was in the dentist for 3 hours today, so my entire body is numb on the left side right now, so I'll do the best I can to enunciate. I just want to get up here to represent Art Center, Cape Charles, and we finished our play this weekend, Barefoot in the Park. And this is really just to say thank you really to you, Mayor, and your beautiful wife for helping us out. Building the sets and more importantly, taking it down. That was very nice. Chris, thank you for helping advertise in your bed and breakfast and supplying some hospitality to some of our guests out of town. Joan, thank you for helping us support us by advertising in the Cape Charles happenings and spreading word of mouth. So I want to thank really just even the town of Cape Charles for coming out. That's the basic thank you, but I want to say too that the great thing about the whole event in Art Center is it does kind of show that it is kind of a town endeavor, and it couldn't happen without all the volunteers, not just the actors, the directors, and the set people, but really everyone in town that kind of made it happen. And the town supports Art Center financially, and we really appreciate that. And we know it's budget time, and as you move forward with deliberations on that and how we're going to spend part of our budget, I hope you do keep us in mind for that. I think we do provide a great service to the community. One thing we did start this year, we have our dance program, which I think is over the years has been just really incredible for all kids around the area. But this year we also started the Art Center Academy of Theater Arts. In our first year we have 35 kids, and they're from all over, from Kipton Peak, Northampton. We got kids from Nandua. We have kids on Christian School, Broadwater, and they range from 8 years old up to 20 years old. And we have special needs kids in there, and it's just really been fantastic. And it's the kind of thing that I think helps our community grow. It makes us provides the kind of fabric of the kind of town we really want to be. So again, thank you for all your support you've given us financially, and really through your hearts and soul too. But as we move forward into the budget season this year, I hope you still keep us in mind, and maybe you can triple the amount you give us.
I was there Sunday. It was a good attendance on Sunday.
It was great.
It was Friday and Saturday.
They were good, very good. Actually, I think we averaged probably overall about 40 people a night as we spread it out, something like that. And that's about, for a lot of our shows, for adult shows, that's really good. The kids shows are a little different. We usually do a lot more than that. We usually average about 70 to 100 per show, but that's because we have one child and 2 parents, 2 grandparents, cousins, and everybody. They all come 3 times, so it's a little different thing. But it was a good turnout. We were really, really happy. And as you know, the Art Center is going through a transition right now. Clay Leah, who's at the helm for many years, is gone, and I'm gone right now too. But anyway, thank you again.
You're very welcome. For anybody that didn't go, you missed out on a very good show. I really liked the performances. It was a lot of fun, and it was well done. So thank you, and thanks to our center. Next order of business.
Well, one more.
Oh,
Bill Burkett.
Dave, you are.
Good evening, all. Bill Burkett, 210 Tazewell Avenue. So I just want to start by saying how fortunate I feel to live in this wonderful town. There's always something coming up that has to be dealt with, but it's a great town, and I want to also take the opportunity to thank the council members and the mayor for your service to this town. You need to make decisions, and sometimes they're contentious, but you're doing a great job. And also the town staff, all the departments. Okay, great job. So I'd like to mention just a little sort of a housekeeping thing. The Central Park gazebo has a number of ceiling lights that need to, this is I guess a Dave thing, but a number of ceiling lights that are out and need to be replaced, and there are also a number of repairs that need to be made to some of the what they call balusters, and so some of the other parts of the gazebo. And secondly, I'd like to bring up one of my favorite topics, parking. And I know specifically the parking on Bay Avenue is still under discussion. Most of you know that I am certainly against putting any kind of angle parking on that street. But I just want to urge the council to do a complete study and an examination of any options for what I consider to be a non-problem, but some consider it to be a problem. So I just want to, before you do anything hasty, urge you to really examine the issue. I know one of the concerns is on the part of folks who live on the avenues that are close to the beach, and on a handful of days over the summer there is congestion and there may be some competition for parking spaces, but I would just contend that that is part of living at the beach. We're trying to promote tourism. We had an excellent presentation a little while ago about promoting tourism, and that's part of the deal, in my opinion. So please consider this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's it? Okay. Next order of business is approval of the agenda format. A motion to approve the agenda format.
I have a question
Yes, ma'am.
before we approve the agenda. I was under the impression that we were going to add to the agenda the license plate revenue that we get from pets.
It was a non-issue, I'll speak about it when I get up.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Motion to approve the agenda format.
I'll make a motion to
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Agenda format is approved. We need a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Treasurer's report.
I'll tell you first about the $15.23 that we've gotten from the license plate, the animal-friendly license plate. DMV sent us a check. When we got the check, I was not aware that Libby and Brent had already received a letter stating that we were going to get that, and it had already been decided to give to the town's organization. So we will be issuing a check to, I can't remember.
ESSO?
Yes, STF.
Okay, which is our local
Yes, for
501c3.
$15.23. hopefully people will buy more license plates.
Is that going to be continuing revenue as people buy those plates,
We have,
license plates?
when I looked it up online, and once you get up to a certain threshold, I think over $1,000 worth, then after that, $15 for every plate comes to us. So every plate from here forward will get $15. I think the rest must have been interest between the time that it was sold and they held the money.
Great. Thank you.
That's where it belongs.
Thank you.
That's where it belongs.
All right, we'll discuss cash. Total available cash on hand at the end of January was $1,731,159. This is a decrease of $444,000 over December, and that's primarily due to debt service and capital project payments. The total restricted or reserved cash was $1,465,983. Total cash in all accounts as of January 31st was $3,197,141. We have a debt service payment due March 1st, it's for $72,845. Any questions?
Well, I'm sorry, anyone? Come on, please.
Page 2, your fund balance and budget performance. General fund has year-to-date revenue of $1.86 million, year-to-date expenses of $1.39 million for a net balance of $470,000. Public utilities, year-to-date revenue. Public utilities fund has year-to-date revenue of $1.065 million and year-to-date expenses of $750,000 for a net balance of $315,000. The harbor fund has year-to-date revenue of $508,000 and year-to-date expenses of $817,500 for a net balance of negative $309,500. Note is the debt service of $138,000 was paid, and the breakwater expenses of $180,000 was also paid, and that's 80% of that is reimbursable. So we'll get that back. Sanitation fund has year-to-date revenue of $109,400 and year-to-date expenses of $86,300 for a net balance of $23,100. Page 3, capital projects. Finance Department dispersed $203,487 for capital expenditures in January. $19,000 of that was actually in December. That was for the finance system. I neglected to put it on the report last month. That was paid in December and left off. We paid $37,268 for playground equipment, $147,000 for the harbor breakwater, $130 for sidewalk repair, and that was it for January. Tax collection statistics. We've collected 94% of budgeted property taxes by the end of January, and we've collected 118% of personal and business property taxes. I think I mentioned last month that we apparently under budgeted. We had collected so little in years prior that we budgeted low. We're bumping that up a little this year. As far as prior year tax and penalty collections, we're at 136% of what was budgeted.
If you would compare us to other municipalities, and I know you're in the budgets, so we don't need an answer to this anytime, anywhere near soon, but if you compare the percentage we collect to other communities, how do we do?
Right now.
Again,
Are you talking Eastern Shore communities?
well, I'm thinking other communities of our size, not necessarily on the Eastern Shore. You know, it may not be fair to compare us to Virginia Beach, for example.
For property taxes?
Well, basically across the board, I think the big one would be property taxes. But there's the default, there's property taxes, there are a few other things.
Looking at that. All right, and then the tax collection statistics. Meals tax revenue increased 27% over January of 2014. I thought instead of looking at the broad picture, we could start looking at month to month to see how our season is being extended. That was actually for December's dining sales. Transient occupancy tax revenue increased 167% over January of last year. local sales tax decreased just 8% over, so that's December's numbers. But the year-to-date is increased by 28%. Any questions? And we are progressing with the new finance system. We're working on the data.
Any questions, anyone? Like a motion to approve it, so go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Report is approved as submitted. Thank you, Dennis. Next item of business is planning department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I have nothing to add to the report that was submitted this time, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions?
Where do we stand?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
On the beach parking, we did a lot of surveying. Are you still surveying?
No, nobody's out there. I'll probably start the surveying again effective May the 1st. Right now, the numbers aren't going to really tell us anything because nobody's gone at the beach at this point in time. What I did do was took that 1999 parking space study that was done by the police department at the time, scanned it, circulated it to the planning commission. Because part of, as was mentioned, part of what happens on Bay Avenue obviously affects the side streets as well. So this year, again, going into the tourist season on May 1st, I'll also start keeping account along those side streets, probably at least as far back as time, to see that those numbers of people who were parked there during, at least 2 times during the day, once in the late morning, once in the middle of the afternoon, is where that's what I did this past summer, to see if there's pressure that sort of mounts up on those side streets. We also don't have a good sense of how far people are willing to park and walk to the beach. That's going to have to happen, and we're going to have to figure out a way to do that other than just capture people on their way to the beach and say how far are you willing to walk from a parking space to get to the beach.
Okay, so
there's a bunch of different
for
variables.
people watching this issue, whether they're in favor of it or not, when are the critical timeline decision making? Will be into the summer and compile all your data? Will be something for next fall, winter for the town to brood over? I mean, when should people kind of be aware that this is coming to a head?
That's at least
To be able to voice their opinions.
Yeah, that's at least the well, they can voice opinion all the time.
Well, they want to voice it at the right time.
Yeah, the data's ongoing, so at any given point in time, and council, and the planning commissioner, or any member of the community wants to know what the numbers are looking like, and I'll keep that on a dynamic basis, day-to-day, because I check that number every day. It went until not the end of September, but about a week or so after Labor Day for this past summer. I figured at this point that's the nearest, well, that's the only data we got. So that's probably going to be the nearest real analog to go from May 1st until probably about September 15th. Now, if there's a specific event in town that's going to be scheduled for the middle of September, I'll include that. But the critical days to look at, obviously, the weekends. We know people are going to be at Memorial Day. We know there's going to be a parking shortage on the 4th of July. But the critical period to really look at are those Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So those are going to be, for the most part, the target days. During the weekends, as mentioned, we typically don't have a stressor on Bay Avenue. And again, the stress, the number I use as far as the stressor is that 66 number that was cited by the police department parking space study from 1999. This knowledge, nothing's been done since that time, but that was a very comprehensive study of every street in town. So that's what we know with that.
Yes, Larry, once we finish the analysis, what will the path be? Will it go to the planning commission for their review and potentially a recommendation to the council as far as a path goes?
That would probably be the most reasonable path, considering that it's the Bay Avenue angle parking is in the comprehensive plan. And then we come to the planning commission, to town council. And I'd like to be able to say the winter.
think that was what you were asking, Frank, is what sort of
Yeah,
opportunities will the
exactly.
public
I
have?
say, when it's in the comprehensive plan, that's in there as a goal.
It's in the CIP section, and then what's in the goals of the 2009 plan, because the comprehensive plan now that governs the 2009 plan. All this editing that we've been doing for the last 2.5 years is all by way of draft, that hasn't been adopted yet. So the 2009 plan talks about this townwide parking solutions, and there's a lot that can fall under townwide parking solutions. In the interim between 2009, when the comp plan was adopted, June of 2009, and where we are today, there was that community walkability study that was done in August of 2012. And that, the back end angle parking actually comes, that's the genesis of it, it comes out of that report. So that was 2012, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
guess my concern is listed as a goal. How objective can some parties be if they've already expressed that's the goal? You're looking at numbers, and kind of make them say a lot of different things. And my concern would be we give too much pride or authorship on these goals and lose our objectivity when it comes to the analysis of situations.
I'll get you
If we
fair
make a
numbers.
decision that's maybe not the best one.
I'll get you fair numbers. So the other thing is, there's also the, as we like to say, non-quantifiable, which is to say the lived experience of people. The numbers are going to say, the numbers will say what they say about demand, but then there's the lived experience of people. One of my favorite slides, Mr. Mayor, indulge me for a minute, one of my favorite slides for urban planning is a picture of a very nicely developed sidewalk, benches and all the rest of this business. And then there's where the path has been walked across the lawn, and then it says design and user experience. I think that picture is worth more than 1,000 words. And I think we always have to remember there's a lived experience besides just one. It is a good design.
We need to see what the data is, and we need to try to put aside any people's potential investment, emotional investment in it. As we consider, I don't believe that's going to be a problem, but let's see what the data says, right? I don't know that I don't know what the answer is yet. We'll find out what it is when we get the data. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have nothing to add unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
How many houses are going up right now in town? Big Creek and Old Town?
Cumulative, 9
9.
That's new houses or
new construction, with maybe 3 more slated to start in the next 2 months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Inspections, permits. The library.
I don't have anything to add. Any questions?
Questions for anyone? No?
The harbor report was not in the packet, but it's not was distributed from tonight.
That's why I missed it. So, go to the library. Brent?
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, go
That's
ahead.
the library. We talked about the bathrooms, and we seen any improvement yet?
Not yet. What are you referring to exactly?
Well, I guess it was, we looked at the mold and we talked about that. Did anybody, yeah. Did anybody come yet, see about the mold?
You were talking, they were referring to
Last
mold
week
in
we were
the,
talking about mold and
in the meeting room, but
the
they're.
meeting room, and then downstairs we had bathroom.
Well, as I said in the meeting there, we had a report of mold. There is no mold in the library except in the boiler room, which is, nobody goes in there. We are working on trying to get a solution about cleaning the bathrooms, and they're going to start working on the meeting room. Dave's already has hired someone, and that's going to be started pretty soon. So we're underway. And we do have 4 new computers in the libraries, and all our computers have been re-imaged, so that problem has been solved. So we're working on all these issues.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Can you do the harbor now? Brent, sure. Take us through it.
Sure, and I'd just like to introduce Charlie Farlow. Some of the council may have not met Charlie yet. Very pleased to have Charlie on board, and he is getting up to speed quite quickly. With all the computer systems over at the harbor, it's been an experience, we'll say, but I've been very pleased with the progress he's made in a very short time, and just look forward to continuing to build a relationship with Charlie, and very excited about the opportunities and the things and ideas that he has for our harbor. So,
yeah. Mayor, council, ladies.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy yourself here in King Charles. We'll try to make it fun.
Well, I'm sure I will. Yeah. It's been an experience, but it's awesome. I enjoy a challenge and always work toward a solution. So, as you all know, the assistant harbor master, Barbara Michaud, sustained an injury, and she is out on currently sick leave, and her outcome is not yet for sure as far as her injury, and in 6+ weeks, and there'll be information that follows.
She out on sick leave or she out on workers' comp?
Sick leave right now. Yes, sir.
And not workers' comp?
No, not at this time.
You want to pursue that a little bit?
We can't talk
Why
about
she was hurt on the job last year?
Yeah.
we should discuss that.
Right.
Okay.
Fine, we'll hit the violations and everything. So,
Okay.
so, but there'll be further information. We're aggressively booking slips. The rain of this time, it's been a learning experience with the systems, and James and myself have been tirelessly working toward learning everything about the job at hand. So it's work in progress, along with everything else. I know we've booked over 100 slips. In the financial report, it'll show the amount of slips that were booked last year, that at the end of March, the annual slip fees are up and the renewals are due. I also have a calendar year-to-date figure, what we've done from January to now, and kind of perspective, getting calls every day about slips. There's only a number of slips we can rent for the year. The rest have to be transients. Facebook, we're pursuing that heavily. Some of my thoughts is, media today is everywhere. Every one of y'all have one in front of you. Tablets, computers, phones. That's where you're going to hit a lot of your market in today's world, from the oldest to the youngest. So just today, we signed up with a new company called Docwa. It's an app, and they can secure a slip. They can attempt, or they can make a reservation with their phone today. It still has to be approved by us and manually put in our system, but it's a new and up-and-coming product as a computer reservations go, and it's at no cost to us. We're actually making sense on it versus just looking at ourselves. So, and the company's out of New England, and they're at the New England Boat Show today. The other one is MapTech. I have an ad that we're securing today. This is a rough draft. I'm going to pass this around. NOAA charts, they no longer print their own charts. Actually, they just brought Matt Tech on to do most of the printing. But you can order a chart through West Marine, through most of your marine facilities, order online, mail them. They have chart books, paper charts, and they also have e-charts. Cape Charles will be in the cruising guide for the next 2 years, and it'll also be on all the e-charts. And when you cursor over using your computer or laptop, or even on a chart, Raytheon, Veruno, most of your up-to-date navigation tools, you can cursor over Cape Charles, and that's what will come up on the screen. And that's just rough draft. On that screen and on our website, when it's all complete, DOCWA will come up. They can cursor right on the DOCWA, and they can book a slip within 5 minutes. Or they can make a reservation within 5 minutes. And it'll be text to my phone and the future phone for the dock, and I'll get that text in 20 seconds, knowing that they've attempted to book a slip. Just some of the things that's going on right now. Working heavily on the delinquent accounts. We're somewhere between 9 and 10% collection of what the debt was, I think at the beginning of the year.
That's the beginning of your fiscal year?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And it's being, it's being pursued every day. Yes, sir.
Are they all coming in happily paying their delinquent fees, or are you hunting them down?
Happily, no, but some of them are coming in, but it's their debt. Yeah. So.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah.
Projects, harbor improvements?
Right now, one of the things we're working on aggressively, it's going out for bid within the week, is the BMP. It's along the boardwalk between the bathhouse and the Shannon. That area needs to be replanted per the Department of Environmental Qualities. That's the filtration system from the parking lot to the bay. And right now, there's shrubbery. It didn't last, probably because of salt in the environment. Mrs. Coulter with the yacht club, they do the weeding, and the horticulturist Kim Allen has graciously offered to do all the planning and design of the beds to get the right plants in there. And because of the cost, it's got to go out for bid, and she'll be one of the contractors to bid on the job. So,
okay.
And right now, we're working on stock for the summer, t-shirts. We'll sell those charts in the Dockmaster store office. And as far as addressing the issues, we had a northeaster. That's what actually caused it, partially the injury. Is that one of the issues was there's a couple boats with rotten lines that broke loose, and then there's a ramp that needs to be addressed. There's some electrical issues that need to be addressed. We're working feverishly to take care of it. And the offshore breakwaters, everybody can see the work going on. They're probably 50% to 70% complete. Bob was the heart of that, and he was on vacation. We've been emailing back and forth, keeping him up to speed, but he hadn't been here to ride out and see. And then soon to follow will be the dredging, and all of that work will be outside of the harbor in the channel to the bay.
On the dredging, exactly what's the amount of sand that we have in the yards? Who knows, you know?
I cannot recall. I know they plan to spread some on the beach, and of course some will go to the containment area on the Port Authority's property. I don't know if it's 100,000.
140, I believe.
140,000.
140.
To the north end of the beach, yes, sir.
Last year was 70.
It's all on our pier right now.
Unless you can read the financials, that's all I have.
Unless there's something you need to point out to us. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Yeah, I've got a question. I think it was last month. Mr. Panic was filling in. We discussed the rate survey that, I guess was to be done sometime before the busy season. I guess that if there's going to be any changes, comparing how our rates with similar sized marinas around Chesapeake Bay area, our competitors might deem them to be.
Right.
In order to try to increase our revenues to offset the losses that are occurring, that are occurring in addition to funding the break work. So has there been discussion of that and a time set for that to occur, and then a time to look at the information and make any adjustments before the busy season? Has that been further? As I asked the town manager, he might know more about this.
I'll let Charlie take a
Yeah,
step first.
I'll take it. Yep. A couple factors there. We're getting people in every day to talk about their slips for the year. Depending on how you look at the rate and how long you're going to be there, we're right in line with everybody else around, especially on the shore. Especially, I wouldn't consider it a competitor because he pays taxes in town. But as far as the orchard farm, depending on how that person stays is whether we're right in line or we're a little cheaper than they are by 20% or less. The only factor about rates, this is my purview, is that it probably needs to be done sometime around the November time frame, so you can advertise at the beginning of the year. And people are like, right now, this calendar year, we've already booked, today, we've booked over 300 days of slips, and they know the rate because we're advertising it on our website. So it's kind of hard to change.
A little bit different than what I was hearing last month.
I tallied all of our days for 2016 that we booked, and since I've been here, we've booked probably 200 days. Because we're getting yacht clubs that's calling and booking 30 slips for a weekend or up to 5 days. Many yacht clubs have, this is the time of year where they book their events.
So you're saying that whenever the survey is done, it would need to be the fall of the year before you would recommend the town?
Yes, sir, it should be.
Action.
Because you have to, that's a calendar year event where people are more seasonal, but when you want to set your price, it should be in the lull of the season and really not in the middle of the season, where people have already booked a number of slips, and then you're going to raise the price on them when they've already booked a slip. But right now, do we want to go up? We talk about that every day, and we know the prices of what they are in Annapolis and Virginia Beach but, you know, we're here, and we've already heard people that are moving to the Orchard Farm, but everybody that I've talked to, you know, they're coming back to Cape Charles. And some of that might be the 20% difference in cost, and some of it might be, you know, the location.
Thank you. The other aspect is that there's a discount program in place for residents of the town.
Yes.
And, you know, there's some consternation that if, you know, the harbor's not making money, it's being subsidized by the general fund. So you have a lot of people who have no voting interest, retirees, people in the lower income brackets that are paying their taxes and ultimately are subsidizing the harbor. Yet if somebody has ways and means to afford a boat or powered home, should they be receiving that discount? So that's, I guess that's for, it's up for, I think, discussion, whether that is in the best interest of good business practices.
Isn't, next year, the breakwaters are going to be out of the harbor, right? It's going to be the general fund picking it up. Is that the plan?
There's one more payment on the larger, the loans, 55,000 debt service for next year, and that'll be the last of the front-end loaded loan that's hitting so hard.
But to be clear, if I may, to be clear, even if you back that out, I don't think that we break even.
I think we lost back $60,000, $70,000 backing that out.
Well, I think it was a lot less than that, but it's not, we're not making
I
money.
would just to review that information that Pat put on the table something once. We were losing considerable sum even when you backed out the breakwater. So I guess we need to revisit.
The breakwater isn't the issue. I agree with you on that. The breakwater isn't the problem. That if you back that out, we're still losing money. I don't know how much it is. Right?
I think it was 65 to 70.
It may have been. I don't know.
I don't think that's part of that is not his responsibility as much as it is the council.
It's our responsibility to decide.
Well, we should be able to do that during the next budget session, so we'll have him, give him some guidance of what he's going to do in November to change the rates if necessary.
Yes.
So back to my original question, are we talking about doing a survey?
I think
we're talking about that 30 days.
He's done a survey already.
Well, that's just the information that I've gathered. But I can do an actual survey and find out, looking at all of the neighboring marinas that compare with Cape Charles, all of the yacht club followers in the areas that they hit. I'll do a rate comparison and should be able to get done by next meeting.
Okay. And I guess the other question is along the lines of giving breaks to residents of the town. Do other public marinas do something like that? In other words, if you're a resident of the town that has its own marina or its own harbor, you don't have to, don't answer now. Don't answer now, but just in the interest of benchmarking.
Right. I know commercial, you know, it may not be the percentage that you hear, but I know usually the commercial guys get a rate discount. But we can also check on that as well. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. Police department.
Chief has nothing to add to your report.
Any questions? All right. Public utilities.
I don't really have anything to add other than the playground equipment has dropped. We've got it over at the Quonset hut, and when the weather dries up a little bit, we'll be starting on that. Any questions?
Questions for anyone?
I don't know if we'll bring it up now or we'll bring it up when we talk about the sidewalk, but how many, we put the bids out in the proper package when we did the bidding on the sidewalk, is that correct? And only received one bid.
Right, correct.
So that's,
Sambo, let's defer that.
He was
That's
a
something we
low
need to
bidder.
discuss.
Okay, yeah,
Let's
fine.
just defer that. We need to discuss that. I guess the next would be Public Works.
I guess that's really, I guess that's when I should have said that, all right, the playground equipment has been brought.
Recreation.
Jen's away.
I don't believe there is anything here significant to report. They're working on the 4th of July. Anything you want to put in there?
What about the outdoor market? That's relatively new to a lot of people.
There.
May 26th.
Beg your pardon?
It's scheduled for May 26th.
Outdoor market, is that on here yet? No.
Probably not. It was a recent development. Everything was just finalized recently.
Okay.
But we do have the information on our website.
All right.
And
So
it went out in the Gazette.
check the Gazette for the outdoor market.
I think for the outdoor market, there's a lot of people interested in the outdoor market right now. This one we're talking about is the town, what, one day?
One day.
One day. They're looking for, another group is into it now, trying to get it weekly.
Where would this take place?
Center City, by the subway stop.
My understanding of the outdoor market that Jen is talking about is on Mason Avenue.
It's in the parking area that's right east from the railroad behind the Cape Charles Medical Center. It's in there.
The outdoor market that I had heard about is being planned for somewhere else. So
Yeah, more than one market?
Yes.
Yes. Maybe.
One time and then weekly.
Yeah.
It's good that this thing is exploding.
Yep, we'll get there. Okay, there is, I think we're through with the department reports. There is no old business. Next item is new business sidewalk installation contract.
We advertised an IFD to install sidewalks in 2 locations. One at the Pine Street pump station going the Pine Street running along Monroe Avenue and Monroe at Pine, and then also at Pine and Monroe. So right there at the corner at the pump station. So we that was the first part of the package, and then the second part was the sidewalk at the west side of Central Park. So we had one bid come in, and it was Browder Height, who is also our landscape contractor, Benjamin Lewis. And they came in at, for Pine Street, $10,741, and for Strawberry, $8,832, which is below the $20,000 that was budgeted for the project. Total $19,573. There's one issue for the Strawberry Street installation. Have we got this?
Sorry.
Take it away. For the Strawberry installation, there's a power pole that's in the way. And 2 communication poles. All right, so this is not a great picture, but that shows the 2 communication poles. You see one here on this in the foreground, and then one down in the background. Those 2 poles are not, the sidewalk would actually be right up against the side, the east side of those poles going down. So that's really doable. The one that's really kind of in the way, I think I'll go the right way with this thing. Let's see. Maybe not. All right. Well. All right. All right.
Real quick.
Well, what am I doing wrong here? All right. So that's the power pole. The other 2 are communication poles. All they have it's a pretty good sized telephone line on it, and some other cable lines and stuff like that. But this power pole right here, if that stays there, then we would actually have to take the sidewalk and jog it, kind of go around it, and no matter how you cut it, it's gonna kind of be the sidewalk. So my thought is, one thing we could do is either go around the power pole and just leave it where it's sitting, or we could do the Pine Street project and then take, what money is left over and start moving these poles. I've got a price from A&EC to remove that pole for $5,000 to move it over a couple of feet. They've looked at the communications poles, and they'd actually looked at those when they did Central Park, and I guess budget and just didn't allow it, so they didn't move those poles at that time when it was installed. But he hasn't gotten back to me yet. He looked at them about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard back from him yet.
Sidewalk around.
Put around?
Yeah.
Well, actually, now the alleyway is right there, so I don't, we can either go across the alleyway, and originally I intended to stop at the alleyway. So the sidewalk would actually stop this side of it, so it's not like we're gonna go.
Yeah, that's a right of way through there too, for the alley goes down.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So really, we're stopping on this side of that alleyway, so there's gonna be an offset, but it's not like we're gonna be connecting the two. It'll just won't line up directly on the other side of the alleyway, is all it amounts to.
Couple of things, I know you have some more things to say, I'll give you a chance. I have a comment from Steve Bennett on this, and then I have a question myself. And then, Steve says, how wide are these sidewalks? I would not think wider than 4 feet, in which case I see this pricing is very high on a square foot basis. I also do not want to award any contracts anymore when we only receive one bid. There's no way to ensure the bid is truly competitive. Also, why do we have to pay to relocate an A&EC utility pole? $5,300 seems like a lot for that too. My recommendation is not to award the contract to Broward Height. So, I have a couple of things, but you were sort of ahead of me in line. Go ahead.
Well, I'm with that alley right there by that one pole, I can't see moving the pole at all, and you're not gonna pour any concrete across the alley right away, and you stop the sidewalk on this side and continue.
Right. The sidewalks are 5 feet wide, to answer Steve's question, and maybe somebody else had that same question, I don't know. Yeah, they're generally 5 feet wide. One of the things over at Pine Street, you're not just running a straight sidewalk. There's an existing handicap curb cut that they installed years ago when they did all of them around town. So that has got to come out, and the curb's got to be rebuilt. Then there are 2 handicap curb cuts that have to be installed. So, and those are not cheap. There's a lot of concrete that goes into them, and you've got the little rubber mat that has to be installed. So there's a little more to it than just straight sidewalk. I don't think it's a bad price.
How many linear feet of sidewalk is it?
Almost 500, I think.
I don't think that's a bad price.
I don't think it's a bad price.
Any question?
I mean, we budgeted $20,000 for it. We picked these 2 projects because we thought they would be a good fit for $20,000.
So it's the total is.
I think we kind of nailed it.
My question to you, do you understand this of quality and how you do see any work in warranties, the work they do? Make up the physical
Well, I understand what the specifications are for the concrete that's going to go in, and I understand how it's supposed to be installed. I understand your concerns because some of the concrete that was installed when VDOT was in here doing the work. We had no control over that. Unfortunately, the worst of it was right there at the post office because we went around town to find other places that had spalled like that concrete did, and that's the only place that it happened. I'm not saying the other finishes are beautiful. In some places they're just not. Some places, I mean, for the most part, I would consider them acceptable. this particular crew, the guy that is gonna be doing this concrete work is very good. I had other people, I had 2 other contractors that said they were gonna pick up plans, and one of them is working in Richmond, and one of them is working up in Hancock right now, and I think they just didn't have time to get down here and pick them up. They kept saying they were going to, but they just, didn't, so, for whatever reason.
Perhaps, sorry, I don't know for council again, I may go back and bid some of the work.
I believe you could too, I believe you could.
Is that pole in the VDOT right away?
I'm sorry?
That pole,
Uh,
I think the answer has to be yes.
I really kind of doubt it, because Strawberry Street is only a 70-foot right-of-way, which is typical of most of the streets except for Peach and Monroe.
Well, how could it not be if everything from the sidewalk to the curb is the,
Look how far it is, from the sidewalk to the curb. Because generally speaking, there's probably about 4 feet from the curb to the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk is 5 feet, and the VDOT right-of-way ends right behind the sidewalk. You've got, there's 12 or 15 feet from the curb to that sidewalk. So I don't think this is typical. I know it's not typical, but it happens that the Pine Street situation is the same way. Although the Monroe Street, even though it is that far off of Monroe, that's still in the right of way, because the Monroe right of way is 100 feet wide. So, but this isn't typical of what you see around town mostly.
well, to their point, if it was, then we have some leverage of getting it funded to have it moved. Is that what we were able with that? Is there any way to get this done for free?
No, not through VDOT. We
No,
could,
through
now,
AEC,
we could put together a package where we wanted, I mean, it wouldn't be, I'll tell you what, for this, for a size project this, it wouldn't be worth going for a VDOT grant for a project this size. But if we would go through and identify everything we wanted to do in town, and then went to the county and said, we want to apply for this grant, if we could get the county to do it, then it might be worth it a while, but it's got to go through the county.
I think Dave's referring to the revenue sharing program VDOT has.
Yeah, we looked into it. And so, but like I say, I mean, for a project, big enough project, it would be worth it. And there's tons of money in that revenue sharing project.
Yeah, it's 50-50 match.
And but it's 50, correct, it's 50-50.
Well, so we need double up on it.
Down the road, maybe that's something we need to explore, but for this particular thing, I was thinking that VDOT might be able to get ANEC to move if they put it in the wrong spot. If it's in an alleyway right away, and it's not where VDOT says it's supposed to be, shouldn't ANEC have to be the ones to move it? If you look down the street, the other pole isn't on the sidewalk, it's off to the side. They're wonky.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Well, you know what, like I say, our sidewalk actually stops on this side of the alley. So that's something that we could pursue at a later time. We can just line our sidewalk up with that one. I mean, if anybody was gonna run into that pole coming down that sidewalk, they'd have probably already done it. Been there a while.
Very little traffic goes in there.
Zero.
Trash truck goes in
The
there.
kids come down there from the school, but they're always on the other side of the street when they come down. Then they cross the street right there at the corner of Strawberry and Monroe.
I'm just thinking of somebody walking along the sidewalk and then they come to a driveway and then they've got to walk on grass. They're walking on the sidewalk and they walk on grass and the object is to get.
I think the Central Park design has blocked that part of the alley up pretty much because they don't have too much traffic there anymore because it's hard to get a trash truck on that end there close to.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know the trash truck comes down the end down where Mahaffey is. And it looks like they go straight across Peach Street and head right on down this alley here.
Not anymore.
No, they don't, they turn.
I don't think they can do that anymore. got some blocks.
I mean, I'm looking at it, doesn't look like there's any trash.
But they do back down that alley sometimes from Strupper.
Oh, here.
I've seen them go in that way and they back up there to get whatever they need to get out of that behind those,
Okay.
duplexes.
There's no way that you could put more pressure on and do it for free.
Yeah, as far as they're concerned, yeah, I looked at it, I thought the pole looked old. I said, don't you want to repair it, replace this pole anyway? And they're like, nah. Said, we're going to replace the pole, it's going to be one that's split at the top. It's starting to, really starting to come apart. And they said, this pole is just.
That's a big underground feed going down there and crossing over to the park now anyway. Is the feed still there?
It's a lot of equipment on that pole.
No, but I mean, where it comes down,
Right. Yeah.
that
No, you
crosses
said it.
over
Yeah.
where the sidewalk would go. There was a panel over there in the park that's still there.
Yeah.
And then where the pump is.
Yeah, and I guess that's what that underground feed goes to.
Well, my concern is, is this, the sidewalks, part of the charm of Cape Charlotte, if you will, the uniqueness with all the sidewalks, they line up pretty good. We're gonna,
Like I said,
forever
we're gonna
have
the
one that's
sidewalk
off center
up.
and everybody has, when they're looking at it, squint. I mean, is there any way to get this to line up? And if it's not, do we want to build a curve into it that's matched on the other side that goes around it, and makes it look like it's part of the design rather than we couldn't get we couldn't figure out how to orchestrate a straight sidewalk. Have something kind of, maybe have some curve in it that looks like it's designed to have the curve in it versus then you're looking at a sidewalk that's
I
off
think,
by a foot.
I had no problem just lining it up on this side of the alley with that sidewalk right there. The pole is in the way on the other sidewalk, it's not gonna be in the way on our sidewalk. I mean, really, we're gonna be back there to get this metal pole, whatever that is. So that's about where we're gonna start, about where that metal pole is.
Is that a guy? Is that for the guy? Is that a protection for the guy wire? Or is that a pole?
It looks like one. It looks like one. And if that's in our way, we can get them to do that. I don't think that would be a problem. I don't think it would be an issue. But I don't know that that's what that is. I mean, that
to me
it really looks like a pole in the ground rather than a guy wire.
To me, it looks like they put their pole in the wrong place. But now, how many decades ago that was? It could be 40 years. So.
I think they put the sidewalk in the wrong place. They should have put it out there in the street like all the rest of them. So maybe that tree, they might have a problem with that tree down there at the corner.
Isn't that sidewalk lined up with the one hidden south?
I'm sure it is.
So we want to try to be consistent, and I think that's a support wire with the guard on it.
Could be.
Mr. Mayor, I call for a vote.
Well, I'd like to be sure I understand what we're voting on. The question here has to do with letting out a contract for Browder Height.
That's what I'm calling for the vote.
But mentioned in the body, there is also this issue of moving the pole, which would not go to Browder Height. So I suggest we vote on the Browder Height one first, and then vote on what we do about the pole.
Yeah, we can do it to that vote.
We may change a few things with the pole, but let's do that. So is there a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion that we award a contract to Browder Height to do the sidewalk.
For both projects?
Yes. For both sidewalk projects?
Projects, not counting pole.
For both sidewalk
Yeah.
projects?
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We should have had this done the other way around, but that's all right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
No.
No.
We have 2 noes. All in favor? Raise your hands, please.
I'm gonna vote no.
I'm very pardon?
I'm voting no.
You're voting no. So 2 to 2. It's with me.
No, it's
Two.
3 to 2.
3 to 2.
I beg your pardon.
It's 3 no's.
3 noes. Okay. Motion fails.
Well,
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
that we award the contract for the Pine/Monroe project to Browder High. And address the other one on Strawberry, when we have more details.
Is there a second for that?
I don't understand that, you know, to be honest with you. Why split them that way?
Because we seem to have issues and we don't understand all the implications of the Strawberry Street. We're talking about moving poles and we have to pay money for that. I'd rather not vote on that until we know the
We can
details.
go to the polls first. I'm not in favor of moving any polls or paying that money to have them moved.
We got an open discussion.
I guess we had them.
So do we have a second to Joe's motion? Do we have a second to Joe's motion?
I'll second it. Discussion.
No, wait, so we have to have a second on the motion. Is there further discussion on this?
I see your point. I mean, the Pine Street, there's no issue of running straight sidewalks that are in keeping with the tradition of Cape Charles. And we feel the prices are reasonable, and I agree that this approach is good. And I think the other needs to be thought out a little better, and before we jam, you know, a sidewalk where you're running into poles and not sure if there's latitude to have somebody else correct them, or whether we want to have more discussion of whether we should put additional money. So I agree with your approach.
I also don't like the idea of approving projects that we think might overrun our budget. With the one project, we know we're not going to overrun the budget.
Is there any further discussion?
I can't go along with Steve. I think we should try to bid with someone else. I don't think we just have one person bid.
Well, how do you go about that? I guess how do you advertise in the paper for people to bid on it? You don't get them. What do you do to get them to bid?
Well, maybe some reason why. I mean, I don't know why they didn't bid, but
Who's the party that ran the sidewalk, whatever the 700 block ran off that bottom? What sign?
That was Scott Monroe.
Do you know that he was aware of this? Is something he might have overlooked?
Yeah, he was the one I saw. He's they're working in Richmond right now. So I mean, he had planned on coming over to pick up the plans, but he just never could make it. He wanted to bid on it, but he just couldn't make it over. But I suspect that he would have been higher than this.
Well,
I just know the way he prices stuff, and I suspect he would have been half again higher. As a matter of fact, I talked to him about it since then, and he thought that these bids were low.
is there any further discussion on this? Are we ready to vote on Joe's motion with Frank's second? All right, all in favor of doing one project, raise your hands, please. 3, and opposed? So 3 to 2, that passes. Okay. And the last thing here that I think formally we need to do is, do I have a motion to move the pole? I do not.
No.
So this dies. All right.
Well, I think we need to continue to explore options. I think you're on the right track.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just let, my reason for not wanting or agreeing to break this apart, I think we need to have more concerted effort to get a better solution.
There's nothing in here that says that we're supposed to be talking about the price on the pole either, because that's not the contract with the cement contract.
It's true. It's true, but we would need to decide whether we were going to move the pole or not if we did the second half of the project. The
Yeah.
Well, why don't we wait and see what it's gonna cost to move the other two poles?
What other two poles?
Well, the two communication
Oh,
poles
well, there's one.
that are in the park
Oh, okay, those.
that we might
I
want to
got
move.
a picture
while
about
we're
fresh
at it.
memories.
Yeah.
And I think the guy's probably got the price sitting on his desk, he just hadn't given me a call, because, you know, he said he was gonna get right on it, and, that was 2 weeks ago, so he's had time to get right on it. These two poles, it would really clean up that area if we could get rid of those two poles and that sign right there. I mean, it would,
Hopefully that sign's an easy fix for you.
Oh, no.
I hope you don't have to contact.
we might, well, we might, yeah, might have to contract that out. That means that might be something you can, give the company could start on right away. For your first contract.
Okay.
Do you want to wait and just see what he comes back with, and maybe, I mean, my thought was we either put the sidewalk in and leave everything the way it is, or we do the Pine Street job and we take the remainder of the cash and move these poles and get it situated and be ready to put this sidewalk in the way we want it, you know.
That's something we can discuss, but I'd like to find a way for the town not to have to pay for those poles. I don't know.
I don't think it's gonna happen, George.
But it may not, it may not.
Because like I said, this isn't the first time this guy has given us a price on moving these communication poles.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think if he was, you know, that would have been 6, 7 years ago, when the Central Park go out. So I think if he was contemplating doing it for free, I think he would have done it then.
I see.
So I say that, you know, the width of the brick pavers, that portion of sidewalk appears to me to be much greater than 5 feet.
Oh, it is. This sidewalk is gonna go right, would go pretty much between that lamp post and this telephone pole, right straight through there.
Right, that's the one that doesn't need to be moved.
Do you think there's 5 feet between those two poles?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, no, it is. The sidewalk is almost, if you look at how these poles are situated going down there, that's kind of the way this sidewalk is gonna look like. It's gonna be hard up against those poles that are out there in Central Park.
Okay, we finished? I think we're done for now.
Thank you.
Next item of business is the 2016 Virginia Commission for the Arts Local Government Grant Challenge.
Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. I think you're familiar with this local match. It's a $5,000 local match. Application deadline is April 1st, 2016. Just to give you some of the specifics, the local match amount is $5,000, included in the draft FY 2016-17 budget. The amount will be reviewed by council at a future budget work session. Submission of the application for $5,000 does not bind the town to that amount. The council may opt to reduce the amount during budget discussions. Having said that, staff does request approval to submit the local government challenge grant application by the April 1st deadline as discussed.
We have a motion to approve submission of the local government challenge grant April, that grant application. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Is there some discussion on this? Are we committed to spending the $2,500?
We have,
Either
we have
as
historically,
we get committed to it, I think we can reduce the amount. So I would say potentially yes. Committed to this.
and we have historically supported this since 1993.
No, I think this is a good idea to do. I just want to understand up front that by doing this, we're in fact committing at least some amount of money.
At least 2,500.
Yes. So is there any further discussion?
So we're going to spend the 25 to try to bring in the 5, or was our part of the 5?
I think initially we're trying we are somewhat committed to the 5,000 to be reviewed during,
And the 5 will bring us back what?
then we get another 5.
You get 5 coming in.
Yes.
It's a
So
max.
50-50.
So I guess we need to be, we're going to vote on this as, we need to be committed to 5, it's already been budgeted, right? No?
It's going to be in
No.
the draft budget, but during budget discussions every year, I mean, we initially say we were going to participate in this for up to $5,000, but during the budget discussions, you can reduce it to 25. And actually, a number of years ago, we were tight in funding, and we did reduce it to 2,500 for just the 1 year.
Right.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item of business is joint IDA member reappointment.
I'll really take this one as well, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. John Burtis's appointment to the, I'll call it joint IDA, is expired. Northampton County Board of Supervisors, I guess with the town of Cape Charles, the joint IDA, so it constitutes the joint IDA. Mr. Burtis has expressed an interest in continuing to serve on the joint IDA for another 4-year term. Continue further, staff recommends council appoint John Burtis to serve another 4-year term on the Joint Industrial Development Authority of Northampton County and its incorporated towns.
I move that we appoint John Burtis to serve another 4-year term on the joint IDA in Northampton County and its incorporated towns.
Second. Second. Is there any discussion? I think we should do this. I would like Mr. Burtis to come at some point in the future and give us a report on what the IDA is doing, where we stand, what the plans are, and so on. Fair enough?
I think that's
You didn't ask for a vote. You got a motion and a second, right?
Right.
We have to vote.
Well, we are discussing now.
We're discussing.
We're discussing now, and then we'll call a question if no one else has anything else to say. I don't know if we should make that as we need to make that as an amendment to this, or we can just request that we come. I think that's fine. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
One no.
Oh, one no, I beg your pardon.
One no for the record.
One no for the record. We get it. Next item is the Virginia, and by the way, for those items, Steve Bennett was in agreement with both of them. And the next item, this is the Virginia Port Authority Aid to Local Ports Grant Request.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. I believe we discussed this at our work session. I don't remember the date. It was February 4th. There we go. This is part of the, I guess, funding for the Virginia Port Authority Aid to Local Ports program that we've received funds in the past to do breakwaters amongst other projects. Phase 3 of the breakwater project is underway. Charlie spoke to that earlier. We estimate, following the completion of that construction, to have a balance of about $190,000 grant funding remaining from this fund. Council reviewed the capital improvement plan as part of that February 4th meeting for discussions. Thought at the time that it may be advisable to move towards the 4th breakwater project, as well as investigate the potential for raising the town's jetty. Design cost being for the jetty about $40,000. Engineer estimate for phase 4 breakwater about $860,000. In doing such, being a 75-25 match, total of those two projects would be $900,000, with the VPA share, Virginia Port Authority share, being $675,000, backing out the $190,000 carryover. We estimate having we believe a new grant request of $485,000. The town share is 25% of the town share would be $225,000, and could be funded from bond proceeds and other revenue sources. Some federal voting infrastructure grant funding may be available to offset a portion of this cost. As far as staff recommendation, staff recommends authorizing the mayor to request the VPA approve a carryover of $190,000 of the existing grant and $485,000 of new grant funds as outlined above.
And I'll take a motion to authorize the mayor to request the VPA approve carryover of $190,000 of the existing grant and $485,000 of new grants as outlined above.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Second. Is there discussion on this?
Yeah, I questioned Steve's comment about, why aren't we asking for 500,000?
Joan, I was planning to read Steve's comment. Why don't I do that and then we'll discuss it? I think that's a valid point.
That's my comment too.
Under the discussion section, this is from Steve Bennett. I disagree with paragraph 2. We agreed to study to see raising the height of the breakwater would be considered a benefit and to recommend a height. Please see the minutes of February 4th. I agree that we need to hire an AE to provide a recommendation for increasing the height of the jetty with justification that the increase will help and is warranted. I think the request should be for $500K since all the estimates are just that, rough estimates. Finally, the town's share should be funded from proceeds of the sale of lots 19 and 20, not bonds or grants. Okay, Joan, please. We'll do that before.
I agree with Steve. I never understood why, if we could apply for 500,000 and we have always been granted what we've asked for and we've always spent it the way we promised, why would we not ask for 500,000 again? I mean, we're so close. What's the difference? And we have always been able to spend that money improving the harbor. Always.
Yeah, I mean, it's a number. We can, well, I think we can easily justify it's an estimate. We can come in higher than what we estimated very easily.
And that's happened to us too, so.
So I think it's very flexible. Don't have a problem with that.
Other comments?
Yeah, I agree up to the next to last sentence, but I guess I'm a little confused by the final sentence. It says, finally, the town share should be funded from proceeds of the sale of lots 19 and 20, not bonds or grants. But when you're asking for the grant, aren't we enjoying a 75-25 split? And if we take versus just taking our proceeds, or you're talking about taking the proceeds and funding our 25%?
Correct. That's correct. And what I point out is that what we're voting on is applying for the grants, not how we are going to pay for our share. So Steve's points are well taken, and I believe that we are required to spend money, the sale of money from the sale of these lots for the harbor. I think that's all that can be spent for, if I recall correctly.
Well, I'd like to see how that's documented. I mean, so
well, I don't like
property. You're paying for a lot of stuff out of the general fund. I think you can spend that money in the best interest of the citizens where that falls.
That's a discussion that we can have when we talk about how we're going to pay for our share of it.
First, we have to apply for the grant.
Yep,
And then
we
we
have to
award
get
the
the
grant.
right.
And then we can decide.
So, can someone put Steve's suggestion and Joan's discussion into an amendment to this motion?
We can't put Steve, she can make an amendment.
Yes, you can't, he's not here, I'm saying, can you put this into the form?
I can amend my motion to change $485,000 of new grant funds to $500,000 of new grant funds.
Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor of that amendment? We're going to vote on the amendment first and then on the full thing. All in favor of that amendment? I think that's how it's done. Living, right? We vote on the amendment first. All in favor of that amendment? Please say aye.
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 Opposed? The amendment is added to this motion. All in favor of the motion as amended? Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. So we're going to go ahead and apply for $500,000. Next item of business, VDOT Route 642 right of entry agreement.
So, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, a week ago tonight, we were here at the Civic Center and we looked at the plans, this being the first portion of what is necessary as part of the 642 reconstruction project, that being a right of entry request to allow Department of Transportation to utilize a drainage easement the town has over several properties through quick claim deed of easement. I'm not going to bore you with the deed books or page numbers, but the right of entry grants VDOT and to its employees, agents, contractors, and assignees the right to enter upon the land encumbered by the town drainage easement for the purpose of completing the project. And I think I mentioned to you on last Thursday night, as a result of the stormwater management requirements from the reconstruction of this road, of course, more impervious space means more stormwater management. The ponds will be outfalling on the eastern portion of this project where it ties to Stone Road. The stormwater management ponds in that area will be outfalling along an existing ditch line that runs down the Virginia Port Authority's property, which is the containment area. The town does have an easement in that area. VDOT will be entering on, if council so approves this evening, will be entering in over this easement to make improvements to that ditch to ensure that the stormwater will be passable through said ditch. What this report is requesting is for staff to request council discuss and approve the ordinance authorizing the town manager to execute the right of entry agreement for the benefit of the Virginia Department of Transportation.
All right, I'm going to read the ordinance, and then I'll take a motion on that. This is ordinance 20160218, approving a right of entry for the benefit of the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Transportation. Be it ordained by the Council of the Town of Cape Charles, Section 1, that the terms and conditions of a right of entry, ROE, for the benefit of the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, a copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, are hereby approved. Section 2, that the town manager of the Town of Cape Charles, the town, is authorized to execute the ROE on behalf of the town. 3, that the town manager is further authorized to correct, amend, or revise the ROE as he may deem necessary in order to carry out the purposes as stated therein. Section 4, that this ordinance shall be in effect from and after the date of its adoption, adopted by the Council of the Town of Cape Charles on February 18, 2016. There is a letter here which I can read, which is somewhat long. Do I need to read that letter?
No, you don't.
I do not. Okay. So I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we authorize we authorize the town manager to execute the right of entry agreement on behalf of the Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT.
Second. Is there any discussion on this?
Yes, I'd like to ask the town manager to articulate why we're doing all this. This is pretty much in conjunction. As I understand it, it'll benefit Bay Shore Concrete and other parts of our industrial park area to be able to move their products in and out, make their more viable enterprise there, help our employment base and tax base. So we give a little rhyme to the reason, or vice versa, why all this is going on.
Yeah, I think they have some restrictions as far as curb radiuses, trying to leave that site with the existing configuration of the street, or road, I should say, Route 642. And what this will do will ensure that some larger materials will be able to move by truck out of that industrial area. So I think it will be definitely a benefit to Bay Shore Concrete as far as how they will be able to move product in the future, as well as the future development of that area, maybe vacant parcels.
Now, is this going to tie all the way into 84? Is this going to do all that at one time?
Yes, sir.
This is going to be a good way to get in and out of Cape Charles.
In the harbor.
In the harbor.
Yes.
It's one of the top projects in the state of Houston.
Any further questions or discussions? We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
I don't need a roll call vote.
Oh, yes, you're right. Thank you.
Ms. Allen, yes.
Tom Galvin, yes.
Bannon, yes.
Brian, yes.
Wendell, yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Next item of business is council. Comments by mayor and council. Any comments?
Yeah, I got one.
What's that?
In our proposed budget timeline, just Mr. Mayor, be advised, I will not be here on the 3rd of March, the 31st of March, or the 14th of April for the budget. Not affecting my schedule. I can do it any other night that week, but not on Thursdays. Coming. After that, at 5:30 or later, I can be here, but I cannot be here.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I got a couple comments, maybe a question. We're talking about utility poles, aesthetics, and sidewalks. 500 block of Randolph coming down, usually all along the north side of the street. However, the new rehab project, there's one on the front yard on the south side of the street. Got town have any hand in that? Or anybody aware what I'm thinking of? Well, you're getting out of town, so you're in the 500 block, the old Pruitt house. You're at the green side, and all all the utility poles are on the north side. They went to plot one there. I think, I was kind of odd. I was curious about that. And then the other question I have is there's been a lot of speculation with the group hub and a large prohibited hookup fee or water bill of $42,000. Everybody asked me, and I said, I don't know if that's real or not. I haven't been able to speak to the proposed proprietors, Larry Smiths. So I guess is that a real figure, and is that what's not that will be an impediment to that project going forward?
Yeah, it's my understanding that is an actual figure. That the connection fee was calculated and was turned to be, I think, in excess, it was $42,000. So that was the actual fee based on our current connection fee structure. Of course, that fee is, I guess, payable at the time of application for building permits. The tourism ordinance, Larry could probably speak to this much better than I could, but one of the elements of the tourism ordinance is it does have a rebate portion of some of the connection fees. I think maybe 50% of the connection fee would be rebated as a part of that ordinance. Of course, that ordinance is still in draft form.
Has that been communicated to them as well?
Yes.
That has been communicated to them. We'll be
Well, I
reaching
guess
out to them.
part of my 5 minutes is I certainly hope that the town would look at all the available avenues to mitigate that so that can move forward. We just heard the presentation of tourism is something that makes the town unique, and that's very much of a trend in the downtown areas and other areas of the Commonwealth that are spurring a lot of economic development. And to have that proposed in our business district should be something I hope the council, committee, planning commission, powers be, wherever they are, will open a line of dialogue with the Smith and try to have that figure reduced. In recent history, we reduced utility charges up to 75% to locate an apartment complex in town with all its idiosyncrasies, which I'm not going into, but anyway, it seems like we could use some of that kind of energy to make this project go forward as well.
Yeah, there is a provision within our connection fees that allows for payment plans as one scenario that they could sort of request from town council.
With other project, there was a special ordinance that reduced all of this. I mean, I think we don't want to, I just hope that we can find a way to be business friendly there and have move that forward.
Can I just point out, I went and asked Jeff about this specific rumor and got it clarified by Jeff that he did in fact quote, based on their information, a cost of $42,000 to connect, plus, not quite 43, to connect water and sewer to that building, and it's being treated as a restaurant, and it would be a restaurant, and the occupancy that is being calculated on is for 64 patrons in the dining room. Doesn't include the workforce. So we're talking about a 64-seat restaurant, just for your information. I also understand that they were told that they could ask the town to pay over time. I believe they were also told that they could undertake a historic renovation and then get a lot of tax credits that would reduce that cost. Overall cost by, well, not overall cost, but we could reduce that 42,000 to somewhere under 20. So they have all that information, and I think they are the ones who actually requested the FOIA information on some of the information at the town for planning and what our site costs. And I think they're reconsidering or reviewing their options. I don't believe they've come back to us. I'm just stating the facts as I know them.
Thank you. If I can continue, I reached out just to get an idea of what it would cost to do sort of a connection fee study. So I think I'm hearing the same things you're hearing, Franklin. So I do have an estimate on that, and it's around the $10,000 range. I'm not saying we should go in that direction. Sometimes it's good to have an independent eye look at that and run some comparisons. Yeah, 42,000 seems high, just from my experience in local government and working with utility systems. One way you can guarantee that you will never have to increase the capacity of your plant is to have capacity charges so high that no one will come. I don't think that's what we want to do. I think we want to provide for a competitive rate that people will be able to see as fair, and that we're not putting an extra burden on our existing citizens because the new people coming to town are not paying their fair share as building the costs of building into the costs of the expansion of the water or wastewater works. So I do have that price, and I'm giving it a lot of consideration because, like I said, it does, offhand, it seems like a very high number for a restaurant of that size.
Any other comments? I have no comments. I'm going to read the announcements and then we'll be able to adjourn. February 20th is the February freeze. February 22nd is a comprehensive plan public input meeting at 6. My office hours will be on February 23rd from 6 to 7. March the 3rd is a town council budget work session at 3. March the 8th are going to have office hours again from 2 to 3. March the 10th is another town council budget work session at 6. March the 17th, another is a town council regular meeting at 6. March the 22nd, I have my office hours at 6. And March the 31st is another town council budget work session.
And last week we added a public hearing and special meeting, 9 o'clock Monday morning.
We did.
February 22nd,
22nd.
and this agenda was printed up before we did that.
Yes. I think that's it.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Any second? Second. All in favor? We are adjourned.